Zone refining is used for purification of semiconductor metals. So alkali metals are very good reducing agents. Something which has got, or a group of ions which has got equal number of electrons. Such species we call them as isoelectronic species. Hello my dear students, I am Priyanka Rajaram from Vidyashram PU College, Temple of Excellence. Today I shall solve Karnataka CET 2013 question paper. This is part 1 in which I will solve first 20 questions. So we'll see the first one. The process of zone refining is used in purification of option A, aluminium, option B, germanium, option C, copper, and option D, you have silver. So what is the question? They're asking us, zone refining is used for purification of which of the metal which is given here? Yes, the answer is option B, germanium, because germanium is a semiconductor and zone refining is used for purification of semiconductor metals, isn't it? So we'll see the next question now. The number of water molecules present in a drop of water weighing 0.018 gram is. So they are asking us to find out the number of water molecules in 0.018 grams of water. We'll see the options if we are getting any hint here. 6.022 into 10 power 26, 6.022 into 10 power 23, option C 6.022 into 10 power 19, and option D 6.022 into 10 power 20. If I see the options, I get to know only the powers are different, the number is same, that is Avogadro number, isn't it? So we'll see how to solve this. It's a very simple question. 18 grams of water, that is the molecular mass of water, contains 6.022 into 10 to the power 23 molecules of water. This is from mole concept. So 0.018 grams, that is what is given for us, contains how many molecules? I'll just have to cross multiply. So it is 0.018 into 6.022 into 10 to the power 23 divided by 18. I'll just move 3 places. 10 power minus 3, 18 and 18 gets cancelled. So this value is 6.022 into 10 to the power 20. So the answer is option D. So I hope you have understood how to solve this. Next question. Empirical formula of a compound is CH2O and its molecular mass is 90. The molecular formula of the compound is option A C3H6O3, option B C2H4O2, option C C6H12O6, and option D CH2O. So they have given us the empirical formula. We need to calculate the value of N and then we have to find out what is the molecular formula. So we'll do that. So first, what are we going to do? Calculate the value of N. What is N? That is molecular mass by empirical formula mass. What is the molecular mass? It is 90. What is the empirical formula mass? Empirical formula is CH2O. For carbon it is 12. Hydrogen we have 2, so it is 2. Oxygen is 16. So you will get this as 30. Correct? So empirical formula mass is 30. So 90 divided by 30, N value is 3. So it is CH2O 3 times, that is C3, 3 2s are 6, O3. So this is the molecular formula. So the option A is absolutely right. Okay. So we'll see what is the next question. Question number 4. Hybridized state of carbon in graphite and diamond are respectively. So before I even see the options, I can tell the answer very easily. In graphite, the carbon is sp2 hybridized, and in diamond, it is sp3 hybridized. This is something which you need to know, isn't it? So we have to choose the option in which there is sp2 and sp3. So we'll see the option A, sp3 sp3. So that is wrong. Option B, sp3 sp2. It is given the other way around. So it is wrong. Again, option C is sp2 sp2. Even that is wrong. Option D, if you see, it is sp2 and sp3. So option D is absolutely right. Okay. Next question. The mass of 112 cm cube of ammonia gas at STP is option A 0.085 grams, option B 0.850 grams, option C 8.500 grams, option D 80.500 grams. Again, the value is same. If you see all these options, the placement of the decimal point is different. Okay, we'll calculate and see what we are going to get the answer as. So mass of ammonia is 14 plus 3, that is 17 grams, correct? So 17 grams of ammonia will occupy 22,400 cm cube of volume, correct? Now, what is the mass of ammonia when the volume is 112 cm cube? So 112 cm cube, what is the mass of ammonia? This is what they have asked. So we'll have to do the calculation. So it is 17 into 112 divided by 22,400. If I calculate this, I'll get it as 0.085 grams. So which is the right answer? Option A is the right answer. So I hope you have understood how to solve this. Next question. The IUPAC name of the compound is given. I have to tick the correct answer of its IUPAC name. So I'll directly number it off. See, COOH group has got the highest priority. So this will get the number 1. This is 2, 3, 4, 5. So the second carbon atom has got CH3 group side chain, and the fourth carbon atom has got OH group as the side chain. So which is the correct answer? We'll see option A, 4-hydroxyl 1-methyl pentanoic acid. No, for the second carbon atom we have CH3 group. So it is not 1-methyl, isn't it? Option B, 4-hydroxyl 2-methyl pentanoic acid. Correct, it is 4-hydroxy 2-methyl. Second carbon atom has got methyl group. Pentanoic acid, 5 carbon atom with COH group. So option B is correct. Option C is 2-hydroxyl 4-methyl pentanoic acid. This is wrong. 2-hydroxyl 2-methyl pentanoic acid also is wrong. So option B is the correct answer. Okay. Next question. Alkali metals have negative reduction potential and hence they behave as oxidizing agent, Lewis base, reducing agent, electrolytes. So what is it? Alkali metals have negative reduction potential. What is the meaning of negative reduction potential? Higher negative reduction potential means they will have the tendency to lose electrons. So which agent is it? Reducing agent is the one which will undergo oxidation, isn't it? Thus, reducing agent is the correct answer. So option C is absolutely right. So alkali metals are very good reducing agents. Okay. Next question. Which of the following gases has the highest value of RMS velocity at 298 Kelvin. Option A, methane. Option B, CO, carbon monoxide. Option C, chlorine. Option D, carbon dioxide. So, what is the formula for RMS velocity? The formula is Vrms is equal to square root of 3RT by M. Correct? Now, if you see the formula, RMS velocity is inversely proportional to square root of the molecular mass. So, what is it? If the molecular mass is highest, the RMS velocity will be lowest. Whereas, if the molecular mass is lowest, the RMS velocity will be highest because they are inversely proportional, isn't it? Now, what is my question? Which of the following gases has highest value for RMS velocity? If it has to have highest value for RMS velocity, its molecular mass should be lowest. So, for methane, what is the molecular mass? Methane, it will be 12 plus 4, that is 16. Then we have carbon monoxide, that is 12 plus 16, that is 28, isn't it? Then we have Cl2, that is 35.5 into 2, that is 71. And then we have carbon dioxide, that is 12 plus 32, that is 44. So, which is the lowest molecular mass? It is methane. That means its highest RMS velocity. So, the answer is option A, that is methane. Okay. So, I hope you have understood this particular question. We'll go to the next one. Cycloalkane formed when 1,4 dibromopentane is heated with sodium is option A, methyl cyclobutane. Option B, cyclopentane. Option C, cyclobutane. Option D, methyl cyclopentane. I shall write the reaction so that we can tick the correct answer. It is 1,4 dibromopentane, isn't it? So it is CH2. First carbon atom only has got the bromine. Then we have one more CH2. Then we have one more CH2 group. 1, 2, 3. Fourth carbon atom also has got bromine. 1,4 it is written. Then it is fifth carbon atom, which is the CH3 group. When it is treated with sodium, okay, sodium will take the bromine, both the bromine, so it requires 2 sodium atoms, and here there will be link which will be formed between the 2 carbon atoms, that is CH2. Then I get one more CH2 group, then we get one more CH2 group, and here I get CH2 which is bonded and one CH3 group plus 2 NADR. So what is this? It is a cyclobutane with one methyl group, isn't it? So the answer is methyl cyclobutane. So I hope you have understood how you have got the answer here. Correct? Okay. Next question. In the reaction 2FeSO4 plus H2SO4 plus H2O2 giving Fe2SO4 thrice plus 2H2O, the oxidizing agent is FeSO4, H2SO4, H2O2, both H2SO4 and H2O2. So what is the question here? They are asking us which is the oxidizing agent. Oxidizing agent is the one which undergoes reduction, isn't it? So we'll see. Here iron is in +2 state. Here it is in +3 state. So it is increase in oxidation number. So it is undergoing oxidation reaction, isn't it? But we'll see hydrogen peroxide. Here it is in -1 state and here it is in -2 state. Here there is reduction which is happening. That means it is undergoing reduction. Hydrogen peroxide is undergoing reduction. So what is it? It is a very good oxidizing agent. So the answer is option C, H2O2. Hydrogen peroxide is a very good oxidizing agent. It cannot be option D because H2SO4 is not undergoing oxidation or reduction here. It is only hydrogen peroxide which is undergoing reduction reaction, thus it is a very good oxidizing agent. Okay, so we'll see the next question. Given thermochemical equation 2H2 plus O2 giving 2H2O, delta H is equal to minus 571.6 kilojoules, heat of decomposition of water. So what is given here is, for formation of water, this is the amount of heat energy which is liberated, or the enthalpy of formation is minus 571.6 kilojoules. But they are asking what? Heat of decomposition of water. So I'll have to just reverse the equation. So if I reverse the equation, what will happen to delta H value? It will become positive. So when I reverse the equation, delta H will be plus 571.6 kilojoules. But do you think this is the answer? No. Why? Because when I reverse the equation, it is 2H2O giving 2H2 plus O2. This is for 2 moles of water. I want for only 1 mole of water. So, I'll have to divide it by 2. Why? Because it is for this value is for 2 moles of water to decompose, not 1 mole of water. Hence, I'll have to divide it by 2 so that I'll get it for 1 mole of water. Okay. So, what will be the answer here? It will be plus 285.8 kilojoules plus 285.8 kilojoules. This is the right answer, which is option D. So, we'll see the next question now. In Buna S, the symbol Bu stands for butene, N-butene, 2-butene or butadiene. We know that Buna S is made up of 1,4 butadiene, correct? No? Butadiene and styrene is the one which is the reactants in Buna S, isn't it? Thus, Bu stands for what? It is for butadiene. So, it is option D. Okay. Next question. The electronic configuration of Cu plus 2 ion is argon 3d8 4s1, argon 3d9 4s0, argon 3d7 4s2, argon 3d8 4s0. So, here for copper it is argon 3d10 4s1, isn't it? Now, for Cu plus 2 what will happen? It will be argon, one from here and one from here is lost. So, it is 3d9 4s0. So, the option which is right is option B. Okay. 14th question. The yield of products in the reaction A2 plus 2B giving C plus Q kilojoule would be higher at option A, high temperature and high pressure, option B, high temperature and low pressure, option C, low temperature and high pressure, option D, low temperature and low pressure. Now, if you see this equation, A2 plus 2B is forming C plus Q kilojoules. That means here heat is liberated. So, forward reaction is an exothermic reaction, correct? And also from this equation, one more thing here you can get is there are 3 moles on the reactant side and on the product side there is only 1 mole of the gas, and you can see all are gases which is given in the equation, isn't it? Now, what is the question? The yield of product in the reaction would be higher. So, I want my reaction to only proceed in forward direction. I don't want it to come back. That is, the backward reaction should not be favored. So, I know that forward reaction is an exothermic reaction. So, what we will do? According to Le Chatelier's principle, when there is a constraint, applied to a system, it will try to nullify the effect, isn't it? So forward reaction is an exothermic reaction. So for the system, I will go on decreasing the temperature. So when we decrease the temperature, the system will try to nullify by increasing the temperature. And how increase in temperature will happen? By favoring forward reaction, because forward reaction is an exothermic reaction. So I have to decrease the temperature. Now what about the pressure? Because in my option pressure also is there, isn't it? So we'll see reactant side there is 3 moles. In the product side there is 1 mole. So what we will do is I will increase pressure. So when I increase the pressure, the system will try to decrease the pressure. How it will decrease the pressure? By reducing the number of moles of gas. How can it reduce the number of moles of gas? By favoring forward reaction, because on my product side there is only 1 mole and in my reactant side there is 3 moles. So what we have to do? I have to decrease the temperature and increase the pressure. So which is the correct option now? Low temperature and high pressure. So option C is the correct answer. I have to decrease the temperature and I have to increase the pressure so that I can get products in higher quantity. So this is based on which principle? Le-Chatelier's principle. So I hope you have understood. We'll go to the next question. Mesomeric effect involves option A, delocalization of pi electrons, option B, delocalization of sigma electrons, option C, partial displacement of electrons, option D, delocalization of pi and sigma electrons. What is mesomeric effect? It is nothing but resonance effect. In resonance, what is happening? Delocalization of pi electrons is happening. So option A is the right answer. So I hope you have understood. All these questions are very easy, isn't it? We'll see the next question. Which of the following set of ions represent the collection of isoelectronic species? What is the meaning of isoelectronic species? It is something which has got, or a group of ions which has got equal number of electrons. Such species we call them as isoelectronic species, isn't it? So we'll see which one of the options have got all equal number of electrons. So we'll see option 1. Potassium has lost 1 electron, so it is having 18 electrons. Chlorine has gained 1 electron, so again 18 electrons. Magnesium has lost 2 electrons, so it has got only 10 electrons. And scandium in +3 state, that is it has got 21 only 3 if you remove, it is again 18 electrons. So we can see that 1 has got 10 electrons, so this is not the option. Again here sodium 10 electrons, calcium 18 electrons, again scandium 18 electrons, and this one has got 10 electrons. Again they are not isoelectronic species. Here again sodium 10 electrons, magnesium 10 electrons, aluminum in +3 state 10 electrons, but then here chlorine, it has got 18 electrons, isn't it? Now we have only option C which has to be right because the other 3 options are wrong, but anyways we will do it and see. Potassium has got 18 electrons, calcium 18 electrons, scandium in +3 state 18 electrons, chlorine in -1 state, again it has got 18 electrons. So I hope you have understood how to solve this. You just have to see whether all the ions or all the species which is grouped together have equal number of electrons. Okay, so option C is the correct answer over here. Next one, adsorption theory is applicable for homogeneous catalysis, heterogeneous catalysis, autocatalysis, induced catalysis. For which one did you all learn the adsorption theory? It is for heterogeneous catalysis, isn't it? You all have learned with the diagram. So it is heterogeneous catalysis, option B. Next question. Methane can be converted into ethane by the reaction, what are we doing here? Methane is getting converted to ethane. So we have to see which reaction it can actually happen. Okay, option A, chlorination followed by reaction with alcoholic KOH, chlorination followed by reaction with aqueous KOH, chlorination followed by Wood's reaction, chlorination followed by decarboxylation. See, first of all, if we do chlorination of methane, I'll get it CH3Cl. Okay, that is only one substitution. If we do, I'll get CH3Cl group I will get. So after this, which treatment I have to give to get ethane? With alcoholic KOH, I will not get ethane. With aqueous KOH, substitution will happen. Again, I will not get ethane. By Wood's reaction, yes, here I can get ethane because it is treated with sodium. 2 molecules of methyl chloride with 2 atoms of sodium in the presence of dry ether. What will happen? Sodium will remove the chlorine and CH3 and CH3 group will link with one another and NaCl will be removed. So I have got ethane here. So which is the correct option? Option C is the right one. So I hope you have understood how to solve this. 19th question. Intramolecular hydrogen bonding is formed in option A, H2O, option B, salicylaldehyde, option C, NH3, option D, benzophenone. So what is the question? Intramolecular hydrogen bonding means what? That is formed inside the molecule. Within the molecule only there should be hydrogen bonding. So water and ammonia, we know it is intermolecular. Within 2 molecules you will have a hydrogen bond, isn't it? And benzophenone cannot have a hydrogen bond. So it should be salicylaldehyde. Anyways, I shall put the structure for you all. So the structure of salicylaldehyde is aldehyde group and there is an OH group. So you will have an intramolecular hydrogen bonding. Okay, so salicylaldehyde is the right answer. Next one, if 50% of the reactant is converted into a product in a first order reaction in 25 minutes, how much of it would react in 100 minutes? So options are option A 93.75, option B 87.5%, option C 75%, option D 100%. So they are asking in percentage. Okay, so what is given in the question now? 50% of the reaction is complete in 25 minutes means T half is 25 minutes. So how much would it react in 100 minutes? So we'll see for 100 minutes how many half-lives we have. Okay, so number of half-lives is equal to 100 minutes divide by 25. So we'll have 4 half-lives. Once I've got the number of half-lives, next I'll calculate amount of substance left behind. Okay, that is initial concentration by 2 to the power n. So initial concentration I shall take it as 100 and n is number of half-lives. Okay, so it is 2 to the power 4. So 100 by 16 is 6.25%. So much of the substance is left. Okay, so how much is reacted? 100 minus 6.25 is to 93.75% has already reacted in 100 minutes. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತು ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. Okay, option A, it is 93.75% which is reacted. Okay, so they have given us the half-life. So first we are finding the number of half-lives per 100 minutes. Then amount of substance left, we need to know the formula. N is number of half-lives. So once I got the amount of substance left, We took 100 as the initial concentration because it's percentage. So out of 100%, 6.25 is left. So it is 93.75% of the reactant has reacted in 100 minutes. So the answer is option A. So I hope you have understood.